Today we're talking about cider and basically some really quick ways for people to understand what kind of cider they're getting. Because actually, as cider has exploded across the country, there are a lot of different styles out there, and some being more closer to apple juice, some being closer to really dry sparkling wine. So like, how do you actually understand what style of cider you'd like if you want to try getting into cider?
The thing is, I'm a wine guy. Wine is my jam. I don't know much about cider.
It's been around in the US since colonial time. Cider is gluten-free. It's an alcohol choice for a lot of people who cannot have beer. Here, the first cider we have is what I think is probably the most American style cider. It's a craft cider, but it's down east, made in New England. It's a sweeter cider.
It's sweet.
It's apple juice, alcoholic apple juice.
This reminds me of the apple juice I drank as a kid.
There's 17 grams of sugar in this thing.
This is sweet. Man, I couldn't do a 6-pack of this.
No. To sort of counterbalance that, I thought the next thing we should try is this cider from Spain. Spanish cider is a traditional style, very dry, a much more like in the tradition of French cider. This has actually been 14 months barrel fermented and barrel aged.
That's crazy. Woo! That is dry as a bone. Completely different than this.
It's not appley.
Like, this has no complexity whatsoever. This is verging on a little more complexity. There's a little bit more layers going on here. There is a sweetness, but the dryness like cuts right through.
This is more like wine. This is a little bit more like your light beer. Drink these out of more of like glasses, and you drink these out of.
And this is more like a wine bottle. That's beer.
Next one, New York State. Most of the apple orchards in the U.S. right now are in New England. There's some in Michigan, and you really need tart apples. So you can't use McIntosh, you can't use Gala, or you really need really tart apples for really good cider. Because of that, and because the gluten-free movement has expanded like crazy across our country, there's actually an apple shortage. So there's people who can't get enough apples to make cider. So we're waiting for orchards to get planted. People are, who are starting new cider houses are planting orchards like crazy, but same with wine. It takes a while for an orchard to produce really good fruit. But this one's another, I would say, beer style, and it's pretty easy giveaway with the beer bottle. That's this guy. It's pretty clear in our glasses. And the sweetness, again, is like right there on the nose. The apple smell, right?
A lot of it. It's the finish that gets me on this one. It's yeasty.
Beer, wine, cult. Just like cult wines, just like cult beers, Aaron Burr is a cult cider. The guy forages for all his apples.
Does he forage in orchards?
He goes to the tree that's 20 feet outside the orchard because an animal ate an apple and pooped the seeds 20 feet away, and a tree grew. So because of that, and the reason people are obsessed with him is there's a very limited supply, right? It's whatever he could forage that season.
That makes sense.
I think what's really interesting about cider is cider has the familiarity of wine in that there's one season to make it. The cider and wine, you don't harvest enough, or you don't, it didn't produce enough in the season. That's it. So Aaron Burr is a cult cider because it's literally the apples he can get is what he uses to make it. So some years there'll be 1,000 bottles, some years there'll be 2,500 bottles. This is definitely, I would say, the most champagne style cider, sparkling wine style cider we have. What do you think?
It's more in line with the Spanish style.
Right.
But it does have a New England feel.
He doesn't pasteurize this. He doesn't filter it.
Right.
He doesn't disgorge it. There's lees, so dead yeast cells are all up in this thing. That's how we sort of adding complexity, because really how much complexity apples really do give. Now these, I think, what this would go well with: turkey sandwich, honey mustard, brie.
Right.
One of these things.
Like you would do with a beer.
Right. This is, roast turkey.
There's a packaging situation here. They're obviously looking for the beer customer. They're obviously saying, look, we're a little more refined.
It's a little more heavily carbonated.
Right.
A little sweeter, drier, less carbonated. Awesome.